Hello there. My name is Amber Hudson. I am so excited to be able to attend the International Wonder Workshop STEAM Summit and share with you our Dash stations. So let me tell you a little bit about First Makerspace, the company that I work for. I am the Vice President of Educational Services for First Makerspace. My name is Amber Hudson. I have taught for the past 22 years as a STEM teacher, and through my time in the classroom, feel like I have a decent amount of experience to speak towards things that worked well in my classroom, and robots and teaching computer science was one of them. So it's a little bit about me and why I'm here. First Makerspace is the company that I joined recently and have had the wonderful opportunity to find ways to impact students through hands-on learning across the United States. First Makerspace is based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. We build, design, and sustain makerspaces. So that looks like a number of ways. Generally, if a school or community is interested in implementing STEM and hands-on learning into their classroom, they're also interested in a space to do it in. And so we come alongside, partner with that school or community. Sometimes it's a Boys and Girls Club, sometimes it's a local library. Regardless of the customer, we walk alongside of them to look at their space and create a three-dimensional design for them, to then build out that design, filling it with furniture that we make in-house, curriculum that we have developed, professional development that we provide, and on all of the equipment and the machines and the stuff that goes inside of the space. So it's quite a process, but the end results are absolutely amazing. And we have seen incredible research to support the impact that hands-on learning has in student engagement, in teacher interest. It's just a pretty powerful movement that is happening, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. So how has all of this led me here today? Well, a part of my role is to oversee the curriculum that's developed out, and we'll share a little bit more about that here in a bit. But we have full curriculum K through 12 that's free and available to anyone who's interested. One of my main goals in this role is to eliminate the barriers that sometimes keep educators from trying hands-on learning. Machines and equipment can be quite intimidating. And so if there is some curriculum and a lesson plan to guide a teacher and educator through the steps, sometimes that helps make them feel a little bit more comfortable. So our curriculum is fantastic and geared towards NGSS standards, CSTE standards, but also Indiana State standards, because that's where we're housed. And so in addition to that, in my own classroom, I used a number of robots and just found that Dash was by far my favorite. And I think that was mainly because it was incredibly durable, the battery life was phenomenal, and the resources that Wonder Workshop provides are amazing. And so with all of that knowledge, it led First Makerspace to create a partnership called CS for IPS. And this incredible experience was really life-changing for me as an educator. So CS for IPS was created as a partnership between First Makerspace and the Indianapolis Public Schools. It started during the 2021-22 school year, and we created a cohort of educators, about 43 teachers from IPS between the grades K-8. In the second year that we participated in this program, we had 26 additional educators that joined us. And over the course of that 2-year period, we developed out a series of in-person meetings and Zoom meetings to check in with these participants as they were learning more and more about Dash and our Wonder Workshop, the items that were available to them. So we also created a CS for IPS online asynchronous course for each of those champions that participated. At the completion of the course, each participant received a Wonder Workshop classroom pack. So it's a pretty good deal to be able to walk away with robots that you were ready and prepared to use in your classroom. A number of educators that I work with have told me that a lot of times they're told about a new initiative, given the items for that initiative, and sent off to go do it. And I kind of had that same experience with very little prep work or PD And so this was an incredible opportunity for them to really delve into and ask questions, devote time just for learning about the robots. And that then gave them the confidence to be able to go back to their classroom and really incorporate computer science standards into what they were already teaching. So through this partnership, what I learned was that in really listening to what these teachers were saying, some of their issues were time. It's always an issue, right, for a classroom. But computer science standards are kind of new in the area that we're in, and so finding the time to incorporate those computer science standards into a classroom was challenging. And we were trying to help them navigate through ways that they could do that. The other type of teacher that we worked with during this program were teachers that were teaching STEM as a special. And that usually looked like a 45-minute class period, and maybe they saw the students one time a week, maybe one time every 2 weeks. And so it was really limited in the time that they had and the impact that they were trying to make. And you deal with this issue of kids not seeing you till another week later, and it's hard to have projects that carry over between a week-long space, and some of the curriculum was just too much for those types of classes. And so through that conversation, we decided to develop out Dash stations. We found that this worked really well in regular classrooms where teachers were trying to incorporate their CS standards, but also in these very short STEM specials. And so we know that Wonder Workshop does a phenomenal job of teaching kids about computational thinking, and we want kids to be better problem solvers, and they get that when they're working with Dash and Dot robots. We want them to look for patterns, we want them to identify essential information, to create algorithms, to persevere through problems, and engage in the design thinking process. Inside of Wonder Workshop, the activities range from free play, tinkering around on the Wonder app, to very structured PBL type lessons. Wonder Workshop does an amazing job of incorporating cross-curricular connections, and so we see that all the time, but being able to think as an educator, how can I pull in what I'm already teaching in English language arts, what I'm already teaching in social studies, and bring that into incorporate the Dash robot is pretty exciting. Dash stations are perfect for 45-minute STEM specials and introducing the idea of computer science in a relatively brief way. And Wonder Workshop, of course, offers an awesome curriculum, and so there are multiple ways to pull ideas for your stations from the lesson plans that are already created there. So what we decided to do in working with these IPS teachers was to develop out some Dash stations based off of the Wonder Workshop challenge cards. And back in the day, the challenge cards used to come physical set of cards in a box, and it was really easy to pull those out and then just develop out a station based off of the task that was on that card. And with the A through F levels, it was really easy to choose cards that could work through a series of loops or functions and that all built off of one another. That's one way to look at a set of stations you could create. Another way is to just pick all of the level A ones and make stations that way, so students are being introduced at a beginner level and then work your way towards a more advanced level. Their stations are easy to use, especially if you create a card that's laminated and you know you can grab those and it needs a robot and maybe a few other materials. It's really easy to set up. It's easy classroom management, easy cleanup. This station environment allows for creativity and flexibility. It allows for the teacher to have the opportunity to move from group to group and really focus in on a small group of students to have meaningful conversations. Once the routine is established, the students are really empowered. I found personally within my own experience, when students knew that the robots were coming out, it was a pretty exciting day. And so cannot stress enough how important it is to set the expectations at the beginning of your station work so that that routine is established. The kids don't question where they need to go to find what they need, where the materials are, what the expectations are as far as asking questions of the teacher. All of that has been established in the routine. And then very rarely on those days did I have discipline issues or issues at all because they were so engaged in what they were doing. They knew those clear expectations and they were ready to roll. One of the things that I love about station work is that it encourages the students to really hone in on their following directions skills. This really seems to be a struggle that I hear a lot of teachers talk about. And again, empowering the kids to know that the stations have very clear directions and it tells me exactly what I need to do. And we go from there. It's easy to make yourself. The station ideas just come from a Wonder Workshop card that already exists, but I can pull those from ideas from what I'm already teaching in my other classes or other subject areas. I can pull station ideas from themes that I've developed. That could be a really fun way to incorporate homecoming, if it's a homecoming week at your school, or if it's a holiday that's approaching, and how can those stations all relate back to another holiday or topic. That can be a lot of fun. The other thing about these stations is that the freedom to move around the room from the students and the teachers kind of makes a break in the monotony of a typical day where kids are most of the time sitting in their chairs for very long periods of time. This allows them to sit on the floor, or maybe they're moving out to the hallway. Space really isn't too much of an issue with most of these stations because the robot can do what's needed in a relatively small area. So all of those things are positive reasons why we wanted to delve into this world of creating Dash stations. So here's an example of what we typically see when it comes to our stations. What we decided to do, because we had such great luck with how this worked out with IPS, we now do station work in all of our professional development opportunities in the schools that we work with when it comes to Dash. So this is what our directions typically look like. And remember that we're generally working with adults, so some of this would need to be adapted if you were working with students. But we generally don't have any more than 2 people in a group when we work with robots. We know that they're generally working off of one device, and we want both of them to be as engaged as possible. So small groups, and each group with a robot. When we first started doing this, we had a robot at each station, and the students moved to that location. And what we found was that we lost time in the actual working with the robot because it took them a while to disconnect from one device, move to the next station, connect to that robot, start the process over. So we found that if the students were connected to a robot and the robot moved with them, that was much more successful. So that's one piece of advice I would give. As they move to each station location, they take their device with them. And so whether they're using the Blockly app on an iPad or they're using their Chromebook on a web-based version, the device and the robot would move with each group. When working with adults and doing this in professional development, we allow those educators to move freely from station to station. I don't believe I would feel comfortable with doing that with students. I would probably have a more clear path for them to follow. So maybe the stations are numbered and they move in that exact order just to keep the confusion to a minimum. And then, of course, we want them to have fun and we want them to ask meaningful questions. So as they encounter problems, maybe part of those expectations are that they are working with their group member first to try to solve the problem. Then they work with another group, maybe who's already done that station, to solve the problem before coming to the educator. So it really, again, frees up that teacher to have those meaningful, in-depth conversations with particular groups that really need it. These are just a few of the examples of the stations that we've created. Again, some of these have come directly from a Wonder Workshop challenge card, and then others we've created on our own, or we've pulled them from some of the kits and accessories that come with the Dash robot. So, for example, these particular ones, the first one's Ready, Set, Dance. That aligns with, I believe, 1.3, card 1.3. It's just teaching Dash the basics of moving forward and moving in different directions to establish a dance. Station 2 is another one straight from a challenge card, but involves Dot. We have a good mixture of those going back and forth because most of the clients that we work with have Dash and Dot, but these could easily be adapted to just be for Dash only or Dot only. If you have an accessory like the sketch kit, the sketch mat, or the launcher, then some of your stations may fit appropriately with one of those accessories. So we have a draw a shape station, a shoot a basket station. Recycle Rush is one of the higher order thinking cards, and it is a little bit more of a challenging station. Marco Polo is a great example, and we have many, many more that we've developed out. The one thing that I will caution when it comes to station work is that some of these, like Station 4, takes a little bit more time. Station 5 takes a little bit more time, where Station 1 and 2 are pretty quick. And so it might work well or to your advantage to try to set the order of those stations in a way that keeps the flow moving relatively nicely so you don't get a backup, or have an activity to do or a challenge to do for those early finishers while they wait to move on to the next station. Next up. So what I would challenge you to do then is just to think through what activities would work best in your particular classroom or the situation that you're in, and start to develop out cards from there. I also understand that developing out cards takes time, and maybe you don't have that time. So as an alternative, First Makerspace has a Teachers Pay Teachers store, and we have developed out a series of dash and dot stations that can be found on that Teachers Pay Teachers store. So you'll see some images of what ours look like. I would print these, laminate these, have them in a set that are easy to pull out. Again, once those established routines are in place, this is great for a sub, an activity to do, because the students would already know how to move forward, and you can continually add to these stations. So there are currently 10 on the Teachers Pay Teachers store. We're adding to those all the time, additional ideas. So that package will just continue to grow, but it's a great place to go and see what's available. And there are a number of resources in which you can pull ideas for dash stations. So one of those would be the Make Wonder Workshop website, of course. The landing page for Blockly, you would need to know that if you were going to practice some robot work with dash robots. First Makerspace has a robotics page on their website, which will have some resources that you might be interested in. The Digital Scoop also has some dash and dot resources. First Makerspace has a weekly newsletter that comes out that provides all kinds of information about lots of things, but dash as well. And then, of course, by far, the best place to go is to the Make Wonder curriculum. And one of the things I love about the way that Wonder Workshop has set up their curriculum is that they also have lesson ideas from teachers across the globe that are using dash in their classroom. And that would be a great place to go look for potential ideas that might be available for creating dash stations. So let me share just a few last closing thoughts here as we wrap this up, and we'll kind of move on from there. So one of the things that, that I want you to be aware of is that First Makerspace has a curriculum that I mentioned earlier. And so this is the firstmakerspace.com website. Curriculum is right here in the center. If you click on that button, you're going to slide down and you'll be able to access elementary, middle school, and high school curriculum through the Access Now button. It will ask you to create a very brief login. That's quick and easy to do with the username and password. And then you'll be able to access the curriculum that you want to view. And probably the easiest way to look and choose what's available is to go through our curriculum guide, which has a direct link. If there is something related to Wonder Workshop, you'll see that listed by either highlighting dot or dash. And one of the lesson plans that's been included today is the Dash Tour Guide lesson, which you can print and download a version of from the website if you want to, or you can go through and see all of the information in the 5e format directly on your screen as well. So that is available to all participants today, along with all of the rest of the curriculum. And then the First Makerspace Teachers Pay Teachers store is also available. And so you'll find access to many of the resources that we have that goes with our free curriculum can be found on this website too. And In addition, I would love to share with you my personal information. If you have any questions about any of this, want more information about stations, I am happy to help you in any way I can. And my email address is amber@firstmakerspace.com. Let me move over this way. amber@firstmakerspace.com. Please reach out with questions. Let me know if there's a future topic that you would love to know more about or hear more about when it comes to the International STEAM Summit. We would love to share and assist all educators and community members in any way we can. And we look forward to working with you more in the future. So thank you very much.